Thank you for joining us for another episode of New Life. Today we have Mr. Josh. Josh is a little bit younger than what you normally see us talking to, okay? Because, this is actually one of my son's friends. But he has a story that he needs to tell. Well, he has a story that I feel like needs to be heard, okay? I'm just saying. Mr. Neau?
Yes?
You want to bring us on in?
I met Josh a couple of weeks ago, man, and he seemed like a good spirit, and until he was giving me some backstory about himself, man, I just think that his story needs to be shared with everybody, too. His story can inspire and motivate you guys to, when you think, you had a rough time, he's going to blow you away, man. So without further ado, I'll let you take it away, and y'all can take it away. I'm just watching, man. I'm just spectating.
So Josh, you got now a couple weeks ago, and these are things that because you would not know what people have been through at all if you just look at them. All I knew was, okay, Josh comes over here. I see him almost every day. He does photography. He's just one of the creatives. Okay, seriously. But Josh, tell us a little bit about your story, your history.
All right. Yeah, my name is Joshua. I'm 30 now. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 19. I guess I was at work one day, basically I almost passed out and whatnot. Fast forward, I was down for about, I'd say probably about almost 6 months after that situation. I couldn't really do anything. Extremely thirsty, fatigued, couldn't really do a lot. Frequent urination, a whole lot of that. One day, my sister kind of like forced my mama to take me to the emergency room. When that happened, I guess when I got to the ER, and they told the receptionist or whatever everything that was going on with me, they immediately rushed me to the bed. So come to find out, I was in and out of a diabetic coma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't really do a lot. If you would have looked at me, I basically looked like a person who was dying. Face was sunk in, all types of stuff like that. But yeah, my blood sugar was like almost 900, which is kind of like crazy. Most people don't even live past that. Yeah, and I guess since then it's just kind of like that's just kind of been like my life. I guess I take insulin. I take about 5 shots a day. One when I wake up, one with each meal, and one before I go to bed. I also have diabetic neuropathy. I was down for probably about a year. With that, I couldn't really be on my feet too much and whatnot. They put me on little medications. Told me, I guess it's more, all this stuff is more so just like what you put into your body. Stress, just normal, just stuff that you might think is like, I guess, normal, that you might not think is like actually bad for you because it's just like it's stuff that comes to life. Mm-hmm. But most of this stuff is like, this is really not good for you. You really shouldn't be out here stressed because it ain't gonna do that for you. You gotta put the right things in your body. If you're not putting the right stuff in your body, at some point it's gonna show that you're not doing it.
Right.
And I guess at that age, I couldn't really say that it was like my fault, or really anybody's fault, because nobody really, we don't really know these things. Nobody like tells us this stuff. You just kind of like, you just kind of did what they say you did, the cards that you dealt. Yeah.
Because you're talking as if this is just everyday life.
I mean, for me, it is.
But that's what I'm saying, like, because that's a big transition when you turn. So in other words, let me go back. So in essence, before you went into diabetic coma, mm-hmm. Did you experience anything that made you say something isn't right? Like something is going on with my body that just is not right?
Honestly, nah, it was just kind of like regular. I'm going to work every day. I'm working at a warehouse and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, a lot of times I'm just thinking I'm like tired. Mm-hmm. But come to find out it'd be more than that.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned, so because 19, like that's a key turning point in a male's life.
Right.
So what was that like being 19 and you're going from thinking that your life is headed in this direction and then it's halted because you find yourself pretty much in the hospital battling life?
Well, I guess if I'm being honest, the first time I was hospitalized, I didn't really understand fully what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got out, I was just kind of like, all right, so you lost all this weight. Now you're supposed to take this insulin every day, all these different times a day. You know, I'm not going to say I didn't take it serious, but I didn't really I didn't really understand it all the way. Because it's like, you know, the doctors, they tell you what you're dealing with and whatnot, but they don't break it down all the way. And they don't also they might tell you to go certain places and whatnot, but they don't necessarily provide you with all the resources and whatnot. So you kind of got to figure this stuff out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, I've been kind of still figuring a lot of this out on my own. So it's just it's just kind of it's just like the norm for me now. It's just, I don't. It's like I can explain it, but I don't really know how to
how to explain it.
All the way because it's just all right, this is just what you got to do now.
Yeah, you're in it. I understand exactly what you're saying.
It's just this is what you got to do now. It's I can sit right. It's you can sit around and you can mope and you can be sad about all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's you look at other people's situations. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still able to walk around and do certain stuff.
With the 900 blood sugar count,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be. Now, I got a question for you. What happened? What were I saw the pictures,
right?
And how you look now and how you look. There's two different people. What I seen. So my thing would be what was your thoughts in that moment while you were laying in the bed? Did you ever think that you would get back to the state that you are now? Functioning, healthy, and even though you have to take your insulin, but you look, healthy. You be able to walk, talk, do things, and stuff like that. And from the picture I seen in the bed when you were in the hospital bed, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. It looked like you was gonna make it out of that, brother. So, I mean, but what are some of the things? What was your thoughts at that particular time, laying in that bed like that?
Well, I can say when I was in the bed, I might have been mentally, I probably might have been in my lowest.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I really didn't necessarily know how to feel. It was just kind of man, it's is this it? Is it over with?
Yeah, same thing we used to.
I couldn't eat. I literally couldn't do anything for myself. It was my second oldest sister. She kind of she literally sat there with me the whole time. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't leave my side. But I couldn't do that. I didn't really I was just it was, I can't say it was a state of depression, but it was it might have been something a little deeper than that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I was just really low. Cause I just didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen next.
So what did you tap into, at your lowest? What made, your bounce back? When did that happen? When did that,
so I was probably in the hospital for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got my sugar levels low and whatnot, they sent me, they gave me my medicine, and I just was kind of discharged. So for a few weeks, I was just I was just trying to get myself together. They gave me a lot of information as far as what I should be putting in my body, a lot of dietary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of I changed a lot of stuff I was eating. Of course, I've had moments where I'll go backwards as far as with my diet and whatnot. But for the most part, I just kind of try to put the right stuff into my body.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my biggest thing. And I guess with me having to live like this, it's also kind of affected my family. My mother, at this point, a lot of stuff she won't even eat. She kind of despises meat in itself.
Do you eat meat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I might have went vegan for maybe a year.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm cool on that.
So, and that's one of the things I think is so important when you think about being told that you have any type of diagnosis. I think that it's important for us to understand that we're our own advocates.
Right.
Because that was one of the things that kind of made me cringe when you were sharing. You were in the hospital you stayed there for a week and they just said, this is what you have, this is what you need to do, but they didn't help you really understand how can your life, what does your life look like? What do you need to do? So we have to be able to advocate for ourselves. Like if we don't know something, ask the question. Like if we feel like we're just being shuffled around to the next thing, stop. Like ask the question. So what would you have done? Like if you could have done something differently, what would you have done differently?
Honestly, probably nothing, because it's just like, I'm not gonna say it is what it is, but it kind of just is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like you have to, when they tell you that you know what I'm saying, you have certain illnesses or whatever, or you have certain problems with your body, you have no choice but to adjust, because it's like, all right, you can either fall all the way backwards, or you can just keep going. Because I know me personally, it's a lot of stuff like out of life that I've always wanted. You feel me? Like I'm a creative. That's just kind of like something that's always been in me. I don't really too much like a lot of other things don't really like interest me. I'm a graphic designer, photographer, creative director. That's kind of like been my life. Like that's just what I've been into. So I just refuse to like let stuff like that stop me, especially when I've seen like, people I've heard other people's stories. I've heard a lot of crazy stuff. Like the stuff that I deal with, not even like, I'm not gonna say that it's not that crazy, because I know to a lot of people, when I tell people what I go through and all this, that, and the third, they be like, wow, just like you said, you wouldn't really know. But like, I mean, you just gotta kind of like, you gotta keep going. That's kind of like what I live by. Just you gotta keep going.
So let's say, for example, we may have someone watching that's 15. If maybe they don't even know that they have diabetes. Right. What would they need to look for?
All right. So in my case, I guess this might be something that I might have forgot about, that I just really kind of realized, or they kind of just crossed my mind. So when I was younger, I might have been like, maybe like 7 or 8. Went to the doctor for a checkup, and I had like a lot of, I guess, discoloration in my skin, like when your skin's like darker in certain places. Because I was a heavier kid. I didn't actually lose weight until I found out I was diabetic. But yeah, so I guess the doctor might have told my mama that I was like, I guess I was at risk. So I guess in reality, I might have had it a lot sooner than when I was 19. That's just kind of like when it went overboard, I guess. But yeah, I can say a lot of dry mouth, frequent thirst. Like when I say frequent thirst, I mean like you might be thirsty, you drink something, nothing happens. You might, because it was at a point where I was going through like, might go through like a case of water in like 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah. Like talking about the big case. Yeah. It's like the thirst doesn't like, it never like actually stops. Even like to this day, that's how I know if my blood sugar's too high. Like even if I say I haven't actually checked it, if I'm too thirsty, it's something I'm doing wrong and I need to chill out. But it's like, yeah, there's that, frequently going to the bathroom, stuff like that, fatigue. It's just like stuff you might not even really think about, honestly. But yeah, stuff. That's all I can really speak on as far as like with my experiences.
So it's safe to say that people need to really listen to their bodies.
Yes.
Because your body tells you what's going on.
Your body will tell you exactly what's going on. You have to listen to your body. Okay. You can't just like ignore stuff, especially like as a man. I know a lot of times we go through stuff and we have our little pains and stuff. We always like, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep pushing through this, that, and the third. You gotta like, at some point you have to sit back and you kind of gotta just be like, all right, this right here is still hurting. It's been hurting me for a week. Go to the doctor. I'm gonna just be honest, especially like as a black man. Go to the doctor. Go get yourself seen about. You have to.
So do you, at this age, have regular doctor's visits?
Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all hear that? That means what he's saying is, if anything hurts you, and it's not the average cut,
don't get sick about it.
That's all I'm saying. So, you talk about like you were at your lowest point. You mentioned when you were in the doctor in the hospital that you said I wouldn't even call it. You said I wouldn't even call it depression. It was lower than that.
Right.
What is that? What is lower than that?
It's just like I didn't really know how to feel. It's like it's like you feel bad, like you feel like because you don't. It's just like you don't know. You don't know what's next. You don't know where anything's about to go. So it's like you just kind of. It's just I was in a very dark place. That's the only way I can really explain it. Like it's just like I don't know.
Defeated.
You don't
defeated.
Very defeated. Like you don't know what's going next. You really don't even know if you're finna walk up out this hospital.
Did you ever blame yourself? Like, did you blame like family members because you mentioned you didn't know what you were putting into your body, or did you blame yourself? Like, did you ever have a blaming situation?
At one point, I kind of like I blame like my family and stuff just because of the foods and stuff that they fed us and what they made us eat. It was a point because I know like when I was younger, it was this whole thing where you can't get up from this table unless you finish this food. It don't matter what's in front of you. You better eat it, and you better be grateful for it. So it's like I looked at stuff like that, and I just kind of used to be like, man, because a lot of that food I ain't really like. I just used to, you eat it, but it's like you didn't know. Nobody really knew. Like you asked me, yeah, it was a point where I kind of was blaming my mama and like my uncle and stuff. But it's like as I got older and just came to understand stuff, it's like they don't know. They just doing what they taught.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have one question. So, okay. So my thing is, now you're at this stage, and even though you said, okay, you just kind of dealt with the hands that you were given.
Right.
What does that mean for you? Like I'm just dealing with it. I mean, how am I going to make this transition better? Am I making the best out of the situation?
Yeah, you got to make the best out of the situation. But I guess it's just like with me, once again, just watching what I put in my body. If I'm not like at least exercising, like I'm at least like walking. Mm-hmm. Like you got to be some type of active. Once again, yeah, you got to put the right stuff in your body. And you just, you can't. I do a lot of studying. They say it's like ways to reverse it all the way. And I've tried stuff and I've seen like the difference that it has in my body. So I just right now I'm taking several different supplements along with like my insulin and whatnot. Okay. And I'm just just still on.
Okay. And since taking the insulin and the supplements, you have noticed a huge difference, a substantial. Yeah. Okay. Did you have any? Because I asked you a question.
No, I just want to ask you, man. What advice would you give somebody in your situation if they're thinking about like slippers with the 900 blood sugar level and neuropathy and things like that, and they feel like throwing a towel in, or they feel like they can't make it? Because there's always on that side, some people that will is built a little bit different, right? With mine's or Dedrick's or yours, whoever it is, you know what I mean? What advice would you give that person going through that same thing that you're going through, or that you have went through?
Hey man, keep going. You got to keep God first. Even if you don't believe in God, you got to believe in something.
It's a fact.
You got to put your faith in it. You got to have faith in something. And keep going. You got to keep going. You can't let none of this stuff, because I'm gonna tell you, life ain't nothing but battles. That's all it is. That's all it's ever be about. Battles don't ever stop. It's just about, you can't fold. You just can't fold. That's honestly, that's my advice to anybody.
Never fold.
It don't matter what you do, you can't fold.
Never fold.
You just can't fold.
That's what's up.
Well, that was some good solid advice from this youngster.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, but I do have another question. So if you're dealing with somebody who's saying, I'm at the end, and you saying I can't feel, like, where did you find the strength to keep going?
I'm very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I've been an uncle since I was 6. I have 9 nieces and nephews. And I just kind of like look at them, like they, you know, I've come to notice they, you know, they look up to me. I might be like the only like I try my best to just be like a positive male role model, because that's something that I didn't have growing up. You know, so I just try to be that for like I try to be that for them, and I just kind of I look at the I guess the degree they hold me, how I look at how far the pedestal they have me on, and I just kind of be like, and I'm just like, all right, I can't just be like forget it, because it's like I feel like that's being selfish. Yeah. I don't have any children, but I know I got all these little ones that, you know, they look up to me and they just like, that's Uncle Josh. So it's like, I want to show them that it's like, it don't matter what you go through, you just can't fold. And I see that, like my oldest nephew he's 19. I kind of look at how he kind of reminds me of myself. He's just a little bit wilder. I ain't gonna say a little bit wilder, but he really like just reminds me of myself, just how he carries himself as a man and stuff like that. And it kind of just showed me like, all right, I guess I'm doing something right.
So this is off the subject, but how were you affected by not having your father present in the home?
When I was younger, I didn't really know, like, because he wasn't there, so I couldn't really like say. As I've gotten older, I've just come to realize, like, all right, it's a lot of stuff that I've just had to learn on my own through trial and error. You know, I didn't have like anybody in my life to like just like show me, all right, this how you do this how you do that. I had my uncle, but my uncle was, for a greater part of my life, my uncle was on drugs. So he was just kind of like in and out the house, stuff like that. He, you know, he might have taught me certain little stuff. He might be the reason why I know how to cook and stuff like that. But other than that, I can't really say that he just taught me a lot. And my mother didn't really, she wasn't like big on, she's still like that kind of to this day. She don't really like deal with a lot of men. So it wasn't really a lot of that going on. It might have been like one. He was around for a long time, and they, you know, had what they had, and they might have just really like rekindled what they had going on as recently. Okay. Yeah. But I've just kind of like, really, I kind of been winging it, honestly.
You know, that's gonna be another segment, because we want to stay focused on the health component, but I really want to talk about like the absence of role models in the home. Like we need to talk about that as well. So I hope you don't mind me asking questions in the future about this and bringing this back to New Life, if that's okay with you, sir.
Well, you got your own segment.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
You got your own segment.
The caretaker segment? Okay. Yeah. All right, that works. So, is there anything you want to add before we close out?
Just say keep going. Okay. That's it. Keep going and don't fold.
That's what's up.
See? All right. Well,
that's all I tell anybody.
Keep going and don't fold. And that's another episode of New Life.
And you can catch us on newlife.com. That's the website, newlife.com.
And that's Neau.
It's the same spell, the same way on Instagram. We have the New Life support group, cancer support group on Facebook, is it? And we also have the YouTube channel. So check us out. We're doing things, we're bringing it to the world, we're changing lives, we're uplifting.